my name is Michelle White, and this is my tutorial on the calendar widget. So as you guys can see, I do have just like a quick little demonstration of how the schedule can potentially look. Keep in mind that all of our templates within the schedule are 100% customizable. You guys can change this to, however look you want, and we'll kind of dig into that today in this tutorial. Now, before I really just do a quick deep dive, one thing I do want to point out is that you are going to see a calendar and a legacy type, which can be a little confusing, which is why I want to just take a step back, explain that real quick, and then we can sort of continue on with this tutorial. So before, we used to have an application, which you see on the left side, called the schedule. Just about, last couple months or so, we sort of have revamped that. We've created a new application called the calendar. Unfortunately, we sort of have to support both because we obviously have clients that are still using the schedule, and we are still converting them to the calendar application. So therefore, our widget sort of shows both of them. This tutorial, though, is only going to tackle the calendar application. Of course, the reason why is because we want all of our clients to be on that. It is just sort of a more efficient tool, which is why, again, we are supporting both. So let's go ahead and get started, you guys. As you know, you do need to grab that widget, which is right here called the calendar. You do want to make sure that you're on the calendar type, of course, and then we do have calendar/groups. So again, let's kind of take a little, step back to make sure we're explaining what is calendar, what is groups, what is Michelle talking about. In the calendar application, when you create calendars, you create them separately, right? So I have a calendar called concerts, demos, social life, work projects, workout plan. I have all these individual calendars that are sort of categorized. Again, if we were kind of referring to a fitness place, maybe you have a calendar called yoga. You have a calendar called rowing. You have a calendar called boot camp. And then you put your individual events in there. So that is one way to do it. Another way is you can create a group. Now, the way I sort of explain groups, it's like a folder. You have a folder and you dump certain calendars within them. So to better explain that, again, we have, we're a fitness place and we have a yoga calendar, we have a rowing calendar, we have a bar calendar. We have all these classes, right? And they're individual calendars. Well, let's say that they are in all Studio One. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a group called Studio One and then dump those individual classes into that group. And then maybe I have a group called Studio 2, and then I have a group called the gym. Again, it's just a way to categorize those individual calendars. So as you can see, I just have one called tutorial. It looks like I have my yoga classes or my workout schedule, my concert schedule, and even my meetings throughout work. So now when you sort of are stylizing or you're grabbing that calendar widget, those are things that you want to consider, things you want to think. Do you want to show that group that has, Studio One that has all those individual, or are we just going to show that one class? Like, okay, this layout is only going to show yoga, or this class is only going to show, cycling. So it's kind of important to understand the basics of that, because then that will help you sort of with the configuration of the calendar. So again, for this tutorial, I'm doing the group. I am doing multiple classes, and then I have some settings down here. Now we do have sort of 3 speeds. We have the slow, normal, and fast. Normal is just the default. Multi-day and classic and time. Very important things to keep in mind. Now, as a default to you guys, classic is only going to show today's events. So if I were to just back up real quick and kind of show you my calendar again, I only have one event today, and it actually ended at 5:30 this morning. So if I were to choose the classic style, I am not going to have anything displayed on my signage. So I might want to kind of reconsider, my settings there, my configuration of this widget. Another option then is the multi-day. So maybe I want to show a week's worth of information. And based on what you guys saw on my calendar, that might be a better sort of configuration based on sort of my needs of my calendar. The other thing too is time. So you can have it display only by the most recent time. Maybe you don't really care kind of by the day. You just want it to show at 8 a.m. and then right after that, 8:05 and then right after that, 8:10. So those are sort of your display types to kind of, play around with. Now I'm going to choose multi-day just because, again, I don't have an event displaying, and to sort of continue on with the tutorial and sort of show you guys, how you can change out the templates, I'm going to have to make sure I utilize the multi-day. So I would just change this to 5. The max number of days you can do, though, is 50. Now, scrolling down to the right side here, some of these settings will work, and some of these settings are kind of for the legacy. So again, we're sort of in that middle part where we're in between sort of applications. So if you guys do have questions on this, I would just give us a call and let us sort of, really explain it more in detail, as this tutorial is just kind of going over the widgets, going over the templates, and kind of learning how to stylize them. Now, this advanced widget CSS, you can definitely ignore. It's just there for anyone who does know, I guess really some CSS skills here, but again, we can actually do this all in the Style tab. So I'm just going to tell you to ignore this part, and let's go ahead and jump into the second tab. Now, as you can see, I did choose the Stack Schedule Multi-Day. Now, how I knew that is, well, multi-day, I'm kind of putting 2 and 2 together, right? Multi-day, multi-day. The one thing to keep in mind, what is multi-day? So the blue header here will actually show the actual day. So it will say Thursday, October 3rd, Friday, October 5th, or 4th actually. So the header changes by the day. If I were to choose that classic, remember, classic is only going to show only today's event. As a default, we have the stack schedule. It would just say, upcoming events and then show the information. Again, you guys, I'm just going to kind of simply click here, as we do have templates that you can sort of pick and choose from. You can sort of figure out kind of what styling you want. Like I said, there's a lot of flexibility within the schedule to kind of pick and choose from. So I'm going to go back to that multi-day just so, again, I can sort of continue to show you all of the things that you can do within the widget. And here's my multi-day, and then I'm going to go to style. Now, again, you guys, we call these selectors. You have them broken up so you can really customize, again, exactly how you want this to look. Maybe you don't want the time to be orange. Maybe your branding colors are, yellow and red. Maybe you don't want the background to be black. Maybe you don't want, the name of, where it's being held. You can do all that within these individual selectors. Now, keep in mind too, so for some of my advanced users who do know like CSS and do have a good knowledge of HTML, you guys can add additional selectors, which again, I will dig into pretty close here shortly. But again, everything is broken up for you, and then you can just manage by simply clicking around here. So maybe my time, I don't want it to be orange. Like I said, I want it to be this teal color. Maybe I want my header, instead of it being blue, I want to come in here. We'll just kind of make it a little bit dramatic. We'll just kind of do a hot pink. And then I'll just hit OK and then preview that. All right, so as you can see, we've made these changes here. I've got sort of this hot pink as a header, and I've changed the time. So I can sort of continue to go back and continue to stylize that. One thing too, as I kind of mentioned earlier, for sort of those advanced users, if you sort of highlight the particular widget and inspect it, this is where you guys can add your additional classes if it's not there. One good example that actually I just received not too long ago is they wanted to change the time, so they didn't want the end time to show. So what I did was I went in there, I right-clicked, I found the additional class, I went back into the widget itself and back into the style, and then I just pasted the class right in here. Keep in mind too, we're dealing with class, so we want to make sure the point size is always there, and then enter that class or sort of paste it in. And then I just gave it a new label. So it was like end time, I think is what it was. And then I just kind of hit it. So keep in mind, you guys can customize every single widgets by sort of adding these selectors. Now, don't feel, obligated that you need to know this. If there's something that you see in the schedule that you want to do, and maybe you don't see it on the left side here, definitely give us a call. We'll walk you through it, or we'll do it for you, whatever's easier for you. But never get frustrated with sort of stylizing the calendar widget. So that's the end of the tutorial. If you guys have any additional questions, definitely give us a call. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.